67,000 miles, line X, long bed, single cab. I am running through security check process right now. Okay, it says I'm done. And it's asking me what I want to do. Well, security access granted. Thank you. That was awfully kind of you. I want to... What do I want to do? I want to program an additional key. Operation. And so that one's programmed. Says there. It says, do you wish to program another key? Yes, I do. I'm going to take this key out. I'm going to put this key in. See if it'll program, because I've been having problems with this key. Yes, I do. I have 2 successful keys programmed now. So, let's see if the operation was successful. Do you wish to program any other keys? No, I don't. I'm going to exit out of this menu. Turn the ignition off. Okay. And we are good. 67,609 miles on this old girl. Let's see if she'll start up with the new key that they have. For some reason, they cut this key years ago, and they never programmed it. They never had any of the functions working on it. And today, one of the lube techs went out there, and they said, let's get our winter trucks spun up, and let's get them ready for winter, because it's starting to get really cold really fast, and we don't want to be stuck with customers coming in lots that are not plowed. Well, this truck is a truck that they bought for plowing specifically, and it's been here on this lot from multiple different owners, and with this business through multiple different owners. And let's see if it'll start. The battery's bad in it. I'm trying to kind of bring it back right now. So that key does work now. Earlier, when the lube tech took this key and threw it in there, he went to spin it forward, and it wouldn't crank, wouldn't crank. And I was like, I'm going to climb under it with the key in the ignition. I want you to hold it forward. I'm going to take my power probe, and I'm going to go down underneath, and I'm going to apply power to the exciter wire going to the starter solenoid. And when I throw that, and you have the key forward, it's going to allow power to transfer through that unit, and it's going to make it think that I'm chiming the key, and I want to see if you got RPM showing. And he said, yeah, I've got about 200 RPM. And I'm like, okay, so I know it's not a crank issue. I know it's not fuel related, because I do have a can of ether right here, and I gave it a few shots. It's not fuel related, because it would have started up. Something else is going on here. It's stopping it from firing ignition wise. And I asked him, I said, you got a check engine light flashing on the dash without the vehicle on, with just a key forward trying to crank? Do you have a check engine light flashing? See, these trucks will flash a check engine light, they won't flash a security light. And there's 2 things that end up happening sometimes. A lot of guys will put new PCMs in, and they'll go to stick their already programmed key in, and they'll try to start the vehicle, and it will not start. You got to go into the system. You got to do a parameter reset when you change modules. You can buy a PCM that's already programmed for this vehicle, but you have to do a parameter reset first before the vehicle will start. It will think that somebody's trying to steal it. Or they will have a key that the battery went dead, or programming or something lost, or whatever it may be, and they'll try to start it, and that check engine light will sit there, and it'll flash, and you're like, my vehicle's not even started. Why is it flashing? This is, it's not misfiring. It's not running. That's your security light. That's your indication that something is wrong when you see it flashing from time to time. So what you got to do is you got to get a good key. Well, I came in here and I'm searching around and stuff like that, and I find this newer key that was cut for this vehicle, and I go to stick it in there. I didn't know it was cut. I just assumed. And it won't turn. It's in there all the way and it will not turn. But when I went like this and I applied a little bit of pressure to it, it turns. So I'm wondering who cut this key wrong, and maybe I could make some modification to it to make sure I know what I got to do. It's something right in here. Something right in this area right here is messed up. And I got to trim some of this. Probably take a file to it or whatever, leave it alone for right now. But anyway, we got two good program keys. That's the... So that works. So two keys are good. So after I verify that I got RPM, we got a little shot of ether in there. It's not fuel related. I hear the fuel pump kicking on. Check engine lights flashing. The vehicle's not started. So go get my scanner. I thought I asked you if the check engine light was flashing or whatever, if there was a security light on. Oh no, it's not. Dude, it's flashing right now. If there's a check engine light flashing and the vehicle is not running, that is a security light. Oh, I didn't know. Okay, so you get a free pass. Everybody's got to learn. So he learned that today, that a check engine light flashing without a vehicle running is a theft type activation, and it's going to trigger the PAT system. So after getting a good key in it and getting it fired up, everything cleared. Then he goes in here and he goes to pick the plow up and hit the on button to activate the plow. Keys in the ignition. Okay, so the plow is, we got this Western command center here, right? So activate the plow, and then he goes to pick it up, and all of a sudden all the lights go dim in the vehicle. All the lights go dim in the vehicle. The radio starts flickering. There's all kinds of stuff going on. I'm like, wait a second here. Something's going on with this unit, the way it's controlled. And I get to looking around, and I find out here there's a starter solenoid, like a starter solenoid setup. And what's up, man? There's a starter solenoid setup here, and the connections were real bad. So I follow power from the battery post to the solenoid. From the solenoid, you follow the bottom post here, goes into the harness, which goes through the grill right here and comes out into the main connection. And I'm walking over here and I'm looking at the system. It's like, what the hell could this be? Every time you push the button, try to activate one of the solenoids, this thing goes haywire. All the connections look good, and I pull it apart looking for corrosion. I don't see no corrosion. Nothing's pinched together. And I get right here inside this box. And where this wire harness goes through right here, the main solenoid, or one of the solenoids that jumps from one to the other, was pinched in behind this bolt. So whoever put this in here pinched the wire probably years ago, and it finally worked its way through and was shorting the system out into the body of the pump unit. So I pulled this off. I had to break that bolt because it wouldn't budge, it wouldn't come out of there, so I just broke it off because this plastic cover actually fits tight over the solenoids. The solenoids are the main support for this cover sitting on here. And then once I got everything out, identified the wire, cleaned it all up, repaired the wire, put everything back together, I just TA 357 around it because it's actually on here really tight. The solenoid bodies that are in here actually support this whole system more than the actual bolts do. And that'll keep water and salt and stuff out of there as well. So I ended up fixing that. Now the vehicle was starting up much better, much quicker. And then, what was it? Oh, the battery. The battery was acting up, and the battery's only like a year and a half old. But when I unplugged that main power connector, it shorting itself out inside that little box was actually putting so much of a load on the system, even with that little wire, that when I unplugged the main connector, all of a sudden the lights got brighter. So this system in here, with that one little wire shorted out, was activating enough inside that system to draw down the battery, cause all kinds of stuff with the lights on the dash. The PCM was throwing all kinds of codes and stuff, all from that one little stupid wire right there on that control, the solenoid pack. And once I pulled that off of there, cleaned everything out, it didn't actually break any of the wires. All I had to do was just relume the wire and then pull it back out of the way. And then, you know, route it correctly. All of a sudden my lights came back, the dash came back, no more codes, no more flickering inside the vehicle. And from it being like that for so long, it has ruined this battery. This battery is no good, it's junk. I'm trying to save what I can, and I'm probably wasting my time. When I put it on the rotunda to test it earlier, it wouldn't even test. It kept saying bad cell. And I tell everybody all the time, just because the rotunda says that the battery has a bad cell does not actually mean it has a bad cell. A lot of dealers make that mistake, and a lot of independent shops make that mistake where they put a battery on their big smart tester, and the smart tester will pick something up, and it's so smart it's actually stupid. And extra sulfation on one of the cells, or maybe just like kind of a little bit of a mishap with how it's reading. It could just be a hiccup in the system at the time or whatever. You don't know what the situation is. It'll say bad cell. So what I'll do is I'll come over here and I'll get the Schumacher, and I'll put it on a 250 amp booster status. I'll put it right to the battery, and I'll shock the living hell out of it, or I'll run the hell out of it for about 5-10 minutes on 250 amp, and then I'll pull it back down and I'll let it sit on a 2 amp charge for about an hour. And then I'll take it back over to the rotunda and I'll put it back through the machine, and all of a sudden it's giving me a time status, it's giving me an amperage, it's giving me a voltage, it's actually trying to charge and analyze the battery. Sometimes these smart system chargers, they can't outdo the old standard just generic tester or a battery charger, and that's how with a DVOM and a standard battery charger, sometimes you're going to get better results with just the old school way of doing things than some smart charger that sometimes it's not so smart, or it's so smart it's kind of stupid, if you know what I mean. And this tester over here, this one's a little outdated. We have two newer ones that are like $5,000 systems, but that was the old rotunda. This one is the one that had the VAT, the loading system and everything in it. And you stick the battery down there. We charge that. A lot of people on the internet, they automatically assume in videos that because your shop does something a certain way, the other shops, when you see things, they do things the same way. And a lot of people will say, oh, we know why you have that battery down there under that rotunda charger. That's so you can fail batteries and replace them, because you guys are too lazy to actually wait for the charge and, you know, all this other stuff. That's not why that battery's there. That battery's the main battery that we've been using for years for the coolant flush machine. It's the same battery that we use on the gear oil machine when we're sucking and filling gear lube. So we just stick the leads back down there, and we charge it as much as we can and see what we can actually get out of it, and then we take it and we switch it over to our different coolant flushing machines and stuff like that. So it's not to cheat the warranty system. If I wanted to cheat the warranty system, I could find 1,000 different ways to do it, rather than keeping some old scrubby battery around to make it. I could fail the system very, very easy. I don't have to use that to do it. It's not something that I typically do, but this is their old Rotunda GRX system. It's a good system. It's the GRX 3590, and you'll put a battery on here and it'll give you a status of bad cell or something like that. But then you take your standard charger, you hook it up, you run the amperage up super high, leave it for about 5-10 minutes, maybe a little bit longer sometimes, and then back it back down to about 2 amp, or if you can even go up to 10 amp depending on the type of charger or something you have, and then let it run for an hour, put it back on the machine, and it'll actually run through a test and charge it for you real nice and slow. And then you sometimes can revive batteries out of that very easy. So that's one of the methods that I also use. The smart chargers aren't always the smartest. Yeah, so a lot of stuff on the front of this vehicle. I did catch somebody made that comment. I'm assuming you're talking about a lot of stuff hanging off the front of this. This is just for the charger. There's a lot of stuff going on back here for the lights, for the different solenoid packs and stuff like that. It has multiple solenoids inside there, and you get different functions. So that motor will turn on, and the different solenoids inside here will open and close based on what line you want pressure sent to. You want in, do you want out, do you want up, do you want down? So these solenoids will open and close based on the demand of the controller inside the truck. It's a very simple system. A lot of people look at it and they're like, that's so complicated. It's really not. There's nothing complicated about this system at all. It's pretty clean cut and dry. It's not a hard system to work on. It's not a hard system to fix, and it's not a hard system to troubleshoot at all. Now, this, I think these are the original. Try to find a time date stamp. These tires, they're shot. They're only good for parking lot use, moving snow back and forth and stuff like that, plowing snow. But these tires, they've been junk. They really do need to be replaced, but we don't drive it anywhere. It stays on a lot here and just gets banged up, and we just use it for plowing. That's pretty much it. Let me see if I can find a date stamp on here. See how bad the tires are? They're literally cracked. The sidewalls are cracked, look like they're about to blow out. Load range E. I mean, we beat the living hell out of these tires, run snowbanks and everything else, and run over stuff with them. Look at this tire here. It looks like it's literally about to blow right out. Look at the big old divot right in the side of it with 2 cracks on each side. I think these were the original ones that were on this truck. If I remember correctly, that's what these were. Look at those rotors. Those rotors are trashed. Those rotors are no good. You see those exhaust manifolds? Studs look rotten, but there's nothing like super flaky yet. I mean, they're flaky, but not quite yet. I don't think this thing's ever had a tune-up. I don't think this thing's ever had nothing done. It's always just been in snow. Why does this thing keep doing this? See, it'll just keep dropping. That battery's toast. I'm gonna put on 2 amp and leave it. I'm not going to be on here for a very long time. I just wanted to show you guys this. I'm trying to get some last minute work done before I go home because I'm leaving early tomorrow. We're heading out to Texas for the Renaissance Fair, and I just wanted to try to tie up anything that I could tie up so I'm not leaving it on somebody else whenever I leave. And I started this job today, and I wanted to make sure that I finished it so another technician didn't have to rack his brain trying to figure out where I left off. I just wanted to get done with it. Honestly, get paid for it as well, and just have it up and running. Get all the harder stuff done so I can do that, so one of the younger guys don't have to worry about it and get frustrated with it. Knock all that stuff out, get the keys programmed, the winch or the plow stuff figured out, and then let them worry about the easy stuff if they want to go any further. I mean, that's not hard stuff anyway, but stuff that they don't typically deal with. I'm gonna leave both keys in here. Yeah, we've been slow. We've been really slow. Over the last couple weeks, it's picked up a little bit. But there's a lot of trucks that have been in here for a while. Like this truck's been in here for a while. It has a wiring harness issue. It kept taking out PCMs. We ended up finally getting a damn harness for it. The transmission guy, he's been backed up for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and he's about a month out. Can't even get to most of the transmissions. That's a brand new 2020 Explorer with a what do you call that? A control pack or A pack in the transmission, where the spring has, there's a TSB out on it. The spring has basically, it's a 10R60 transmission, and it'll slam in 7th gear coming down, the 7-6 shift. It'll slam real hard. There's a TSB out saying you got to basically take apart the transmission, replace the A pack component. So basically you're rebuilding the transmission. This one is a Focus getting a clutch system. The trans right there, that is what is my, am I seeing a mouse over here? That's a mouse up on top of his table. I caught that right out of the corner of my eye. That little guy's moving around right by that garbage can right there. That's a transmission out of a Super Duty. Oh yeah. He just took off back in there too. It's transmission out of a Super Duty that only has, how many miles does that have on it? That only has like 19,000 miles on it. It's already burned up. Fluid's burned. It shifts and bangs almost every single gear. This here, he is doing, what is he doing here? What the hell is this one? Is this one a motor? No, this one's not a motor. This is going to be, this one's going to be a transmission actually. This is going to be a transmission rebuild here. I'm pretty sure of that actually. He's got multiple things going on here. He's been checking the color of the fluid. They don't smell bad, but they get to shifting weird and stuff. And you know, you don't mess around with it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure some of the trans rebuild. Probably gonna reseal, put seals in PTU. This, I don't know what this, they were freaking out the other day when this came in here, because there was a lady that came here and she was really interested in buying this Explorer. It's a 14. I don't think it's very overpriced at all, but something happened to one of the modules. There's a PCM. I think they ended up putting a PCM in here because there was either an intermittent loss of power coming out of the PCM to something that had to run, and they had to put a new PCM in it. I think the 6.7 is a pretty good motor. There's some little issues that they're having with the knocks, a little knocks here and there and stuff like that, but overall it's a pretty damn good motor. This is a Jeep Grand Cherokee, and the motor locked up on it. And because we were the people that sold this to the customer early on as a used unit, they bought an aftermarket warranty. And when this, I think, what is this? Do they run 6.2 liters in these SRTs? Is that what this is? 6.2 liter or something like that? The motor locked up at about 90,000 miles. I started doing a bunch of research on it. It's because of cam location. And as they build these things, they move further and further up in the motors. And I think somebody even referenced Uncle Tony's Garage. He actually talked about this. And if you look at the generation of the Hemi motors and how they've been changing them, they've been getting worse and worse and worse because of the location of the camshafts and how they're oiling them. They have, in later years, become more problematic because they're further and further away from the oiling source. So it's harder and harder to get oil there. And what, 6.4? I don't know what the hell these are. I'm not sure what these are. 6.2, 6.4, whatever it is. It's a, but the motor locked up, and the aftermarket warranty actually picked up the repair. It went to a Chrysler dealer, and they tried to claim replacement of the motor, and the warranty company said, no, it can't be another Chrysler dealer. How our warranty works is you take it back to the dealer that sold you the warranty, and because we have business with them, we will do business with them, and they will replace the motor. So the motor came in Because the motor was locked up, you couldn't get to all of the torque converter bolts. So you have to pull the motor, bell housing bolts out, and pull the motor out through the front with a torque converter in it. Now, some of the Chrysler guys at our other stores said drop the subframe assembly and stuff out and just take the whole unit out as one unit. And the guy here that's been doing this for a long time, almost 40 years, he said, I'm not doing that. This is a pretty straightforward, pull the front grill out, pull the radiator assembly and stuff out of there, pull hood and stuff off of it, and just pull the motor right out of the front, nice and easy. You ain't got to drop the subframe or none of that stuff. He just basically laid everything out of the way and pulled the motor nice and easy out of the front, had it sitting over there. The next day, had the new motor set up on the cherry picker and stuff, kind of going back together, and just eased it on in there. And then once he got everything set up and in there, he's trying to start it, and he couldn't start it. And he's like, what the hell's going on? Every time I hit the key, it just won't start. And a couple technicians came over here to look at it in one shot. The independent guy, he's over there in the corner. He's our main diesel guy now, and it's me and him. And he came over here, and he came over with his power probe, and he said, hit the key for me, or push button start, whatever it is. I want to see if I'm getting power down here in this exciter wire. And he said, yep, it's lighting up. It's got good voltage down here. You got good power down here. You got a junk starter in this thing. Sure enough, the damn starter is tucked way up in the center of this thing, and I think it's like book time is like 2.5 hours to get a starter in this, because they tuck it back in there, and it's like a pain in the ass to get it out. So he ended up going on vacation for a couple weeks. This job was already done and ready to go out the door, just waiting on a starter to show up. Finally, the damn starter showed up, and we have a shorter technician over here. He's pretty small, but kind of stocky at the same time, and he's a go-getter, man. Dude will do anything. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter what car it is. Doesn't matter what job it is. If you can make money and it can be a job done right, he's in it. He's right on it. So while we were all working on other stuff today, he came over here and stuck the starter in it, and said it ran great. He said this thing's got nutty power compared to like our SUVs and stuff like that. Other than the Explorer ST. The Explorer ST, a lot of people underestimate them because these do make more power than them, but the Explorer ST, with the right person behind it, will just chew this thing up. It's a twin-turbo all-wheel drive setup, and it's instantaneous. I mean, there's no waiting for a power band and all this other stuff. The Explorer ST, I've seen managers at other dealerships that I've worked at take, I want to say, one of these and a boosted previous model Explorer with just minor tuning and stuff like that, and chewed this damn thing up. But of course, you know, you can mod these out too to do the same thing. I'm just saying, the basic Explorer ST with fuel tuning and stuff like that, turbo mapping, they just destroy these things like they're nothing. And these guys get hurt about it because, you know, they buy this such a nice, sexy looking vehicle, and it's one of the fastest SUVs on the road, and then some guy goes out and just dumps $1,000 into tuning and fuel and everything else and just basic add-ons, $1,500, and then this thing is no longer thought of anymore, and it's getting chewed up. So it's kind of, you know, you want toys and you want to play with them, you got to put the money into them. So where's he? Let's see where he left the key for this thing at. 639. Yeah, I'm not here to debate you on what you've seen versus what I've seen. I'm literally just telling you what I've seen. So you can either take it for what it is or not. It's up to you. This is not a debating channel. I'm not talking about your favorite Mopar and stuff like that, to where they literally have videos with these things at the tracks where these get completely destroyed by the Explorer ST. I mean, it's not even worth having a conversation about. And I've seen Explorer STs get destroyed by them. But if you have a good driver behind the seat of that thing, it's a no-brainer. See if we can start this. They did a good job. It's got all the factory exhaust. Pretty simple motor overall. A lot of room in here to work. Nothing complicated about 6.4 liter. Nothing complicated about this setup. Not bad. Yeah, I've heard about the customer state stuff. I mean, I think that people were saying that guy ended up getting in trouble because he was pushing it a little too far with how he was going after customers and stuff like that, and the things that he was saying. You know, I'm not particularly worried about that, because that's not something I do. I don't bash customers to the extent of trying to make them feel bad. I might make fun of the situation or use a little dry humor about the situation, but I don't get involved with all that stuff. It's not something that I do. I don't partake in. There's several things I don't do. I'm not going to bash a customer, directly attack them. I'm not going to talk about how stupid they are or stupid you are or anything else. I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to bash other manufacturers. That's just not. There's two things I don't do. Is I don't go after customers, and I will not go after manufacturers. But I'll tell you how stupid one of my coworkers is, or my manager or something like that, if he pissed me off and he's being an idiot about something. Sure, because those are my inner working days. Those are people that I directly relate to, that watch my channel. They could literally see that I'm telling them that they were being a dummy today or something like that. And we just pick at each other like that. That's the kind of stuff that we do. A lot of people were talking about noise from brand new motors. This literally has a tick coming from the motor, and every one of these that I've heard, even brand new, when you go look at them, they sound like this. It's never going to be 100% perfect. There's a lot of moving parts inside these. There's a lot of expansion going on. Yeah, it's that Hemi tick. You know, it is what it is. That's what it sounds like. And it's brand new block. It's not even a refurbished block. It's a brand new long block. What does it say? OW40 synthetic engine oil recommended. This down here is a 2-liter Ecoboost. He's doing a long block in it because it's eating coolant. There's the new long block sitting back there. And these are gravy jobs, easy jobs. So he's at the point now where he's pulling torque converter bolts, and he's probably going to bring the cherry picker over here tomorrow and finish pulling the block off the rest of the way. This was cylinder 3 or cylinder 4. The typical, I think it was cylinder 3 was eating coolant on this one. This here is what I believe what was this one? I don't think this was this a short block? I'm trying to think if this was a short block or if this was... I don't remember what this Explorer was. I don't remember if this was a short block or not. Good old 6.4, 6.4, 6.4. I think this one had some kind of problem with pass-through connector. I think there, or it was a... I know it was an oil leak, and I think the pass-through connector. Something wrong with the turbine speed sensor or something inside this transmission is what this issue was here on this F-150. I'm pretty sure he has to look into that. And what ends up happening with these, how do you turn the light on? Is there a way you can turn the light on while you're live? I don't think you can. I can go with my light down there and show you one of the common problems. It's mine. I'll show you guys what one of the common problems is on the F-150s. Oh, Anthony sent me this stuff today. Anthony sent me the PI, the performance improver from AMSOIL. Anthony sent me that. And then he sent me the AMSOIL gasoline additive, the capless compatible upper cylinder lubricant. And he also sent me a can of the power foam for the induction system and engine and transmission flush. He sent me this as well. So we will be doing something with these very soon. We just have to find the right application for it. Where was I at? I'm not going to be on much over the weekend, so I figured I'd show you guys and cover a lot of stuff tonight while I'm here, because like I said, I'm heading out to Texas for the Renaissance Fair over the weekend, and we're leaving tomorrow early to get there. Where did I put my light? I'd rather not take that one. That one's not mine. Did I put it back in my cart? I'll just grab my other one. My older one. Let's go look at these. What's up, pup? What's up, trouble? So, see that right there? Right above the exhaust right there? Look straight up above that oxygen sensor. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. I don't know if I can. That's the vacuum pump, and they leak down the back of the motor right here, and people start to freak out, and they think something's really, really wrong with their vehicle, and they're gonna get charged all this money. You can literally do that vacuum pump from leaning right over the motor at the top and just run your hands right behind it. And it's like an hour and a half. I mean, some people might get 2 hours out of it depending on how severe it is and how much cleaning and stuff you have to do. But you just regasket it, reseal it, put it all back together. This truck here, a lot of surface rust, but it's not like rusted, rotten, falling apart and flaking. I noticed that's kind of one real good thing about the F-150s is they'll get this real deep color of things looking like they're rotted out and they're rusting and falling apart, but the frame and the suspensions on them, on like 11 and on, they just look like that. You'll see that this is severely rusted, but there's also a lot of black paint and stuff still in here, and it's not even layered. It looks like it, but it's not. It's actually completely fine. There's the exhaust rattle that you hear, that it's eventually going to end up rotting again. So that's how you fix some of the rattle. That exhaust is rotted away there. This is the BL3W double apple. Is this the bigger one? Yep, this one it's got the clutch, the electronic locker in it. One of the biggest failures that I see is whenever you take your truck to a shop, independent shop or dealership, and you run it through quick lane. One of the quick lane guys, they'll get around, they'll come through your vehicle and stuff like that, you know. They'll look through here and they'll say, okay, and pads are good, and they'll move on to the next wheel. Wrong. You have to look at the backside of these F-150 wheels. They are notorious for eating this inside pad up, and the outside can look perfectly fine, like there's nothing wrong at all. You know, you still got almost, 80% pad life, but you come look at this inside pad, and you've got 10-15% pad life left, or if not already metal on metal. You always got to check the inside pad. The inside pad is actually more important to check than the outside pad is. Just because it will literally fake you out to the point where it's very deceiving. IWEs look good. There's track in there. It's got newer rotors and stuff on it. Newer brakes on it. The brakes actually look really good on this truck. Why? So that pad can sometimes jam up and slot, and it won't really move all that much. A lot of rust and stuff will build up back there as well. Pins can lock up a certain way, and it'll try to push against that pad. It'll try to push, the piston will push up against it, but the pad won't be able to move, so it counters it. It'll pull from the outside. It's almost like it's trying to do a double deal where it's trying to push together, how a pad will grab from the outside and the inside, but more of the pressure will be put on the outside than on the inside than the outside, because it'll lock up. Sorry, the pins will lock up and the outside can't slide, and the piston will put all the pressure against the inside pad, and it'll wear it out faster because your pins are all froze up. So can you imagine imagine this piston side here, outside here, and then your slider pins that slide everything back and forth as things are applying, and it can maneuver back and forth. Once those pistons, or the sliding pins that hold the assembly together, that allow it to slide, once they lock up and corrode and rust and everything else, and they can't allow the assembly to slide anymore, the piston's going to put all the pressure here, and it's going to keep working its way in, and the outside over here is barely going to get anywhere at all, because the assembly can't slide and apply even pressure anymore. You have pins that are locked up, so the inside pad will wear faster than the outside pad will, and then the outside pad will look completely fine, and you'll think, oh, nothing's wrong. You'd better look at the inside pad. was this? Was this a diesel where the EGR cooler, I think the EGR cooler is starting to eat the coolant? What else do we have here? This is a warranty box. Mac came in and warranted this entire assembly for this gentleman over here because the paint is starting to corrode on it. And they really don't have problems with corrosion, so there's something that happened with like a small batch of these boxes that they're going to have to look into. But he already had his warranty. He had to wait a couple months for it, but finally it showed up. So now he's getting a whole new maximizer box, and that box will end up going up for sale. A little bit of corrosion, but you really can't tell. I mean, I don't even know where he found it. It might be inside one of the drawers or something. Do use on Panther cars pad return springs? I'm not sure. SS, can you ask that again, please? Thank you. What was this here? This was... I had a pretty... My day wasn't too crazy today. I had one of these transits come in, needed a coolant flush. I'm going to release the video here in a little bit for you guys. You guys asked for more transit videos because some of you really do a lot of transit. You know, you have a lot of transits in your fleet. So I actually have a really good video talking about this situation right here. See how this is all banged up? People shoving stuff in the doors and banging into the doors and everything else. Nobody's expecting you to be perfect when you're running these construction vehicles or some kind of, like this is a McKesson medical surgical. It's one of our main customers. They're great customers, and they always take care of us and we take care of them. And you know, these are work vehicles. They get banged up. It's going to happen, especially when some companies have 6, 7, 8 different drivers in one truck all the time. So when you go to open these doors, a lot of people think it's supposed to be just butter smooth. Like, this is a big giant door. It ain't going to be butter smooth every single time you open this door. You got to grab this door and you got to open it. Well, what ends up happening is people slam these doors over and over and over again. And when you're slamming these doors over and over and over again, you'll take these guide assemblies and you'll knock them out of whack, forward and back, and even the bottom, forward and back. I don't know what the proper name for this is, but this type of guide pin that comes in here that helps guide this system together, and it kind of fits in real nice. Well, when you're whacking these brackets, these adjustment alignment tabs and stuff up over and over and over again, what ends up happening is you start running the guide pin and the little hook assembly that helps hold it in. Once it's in, you'll start running them into the brackets and it'll start wearing holes and stuff into the bracket. Then the door won't want to close anymore. It'll be super hard and you'll have to start slamming the doors to get them to close properly. And then if you slam them all the time, these strikers come out of adjustment back here and it'll actually run it in. So when you're going to close the door, you're trying to close it past its close point and it wants to bounce back on you. So it's always trying to fight you all the time. So you got to loosen this up, move the adjustment back out, tighten it down, and then you have to sometimes pull these door guide brackets. I don't know the proper name. I'm not a body guy, but I am a body guy because I know how to repair them. You pull these brackets out, which I think these are T27s, top, bottom. You can loosen this one up and bring it out just a hair, and you can actually just open those holes on each end up just a little bit. And if you have a diamond file, it'll help you cut into that metal even faster. And these, what is it? Which one is it? Got the round holes. You can use a drill bit and open them up some. Nothing wrong with that. But when you get to this side here, these are thicker. You might have to open these up to adjust them some as well. And you can adjust them both to fit each other. So today I had to do a pretty decent job on adjusting this guy's door assembly and stuff like that, because he said, he literally told me today, he's like, dude, I love all the work that you do. Thank you for always taking care of me. I could have charged him hours to do the job. You know, I could have charged an hour diag to look at everything and stuff, or half-hour diag, but I didn't do that. I said, look, an hour, I'll just go through and adjust everything. I'll make it real nice and clean. You're probably going to have to come back in here every 4 to 6 months and have this done, kind of readjusted and stuff, because you run how many people through this truck in a week? And he said, I don't know, I might run 6, 7, 8 different drivers through one vehicle in 1 week. So their doors are getting slammed and banged all the time and stuff like that. And I said, I got you, man, I'll take care of you. So these have a tendency to screw up right here too, this pivot point. That spring assembly and stuff right there will come out of whack, or something will happen and that'll get bent from taking this door and running it wide open and running it down this track, and it's slamming back in its spot. It'll actually start to bend this bracket assembly and stuff on this point here, and it'll screw that up, and then it'll also fight you from closing this door. So a lot of people with low mileage Transits, they'll come in and they think it's going to be some kind of warranty job, and I'm like, no man, I can't warranty that. You're going to get me in trouble even trying to warranty that. Even if I wanted to do that for you, I couldn't do it, because I'll get audited and then they'll see it's some kind of customer abuse, and then I'll get in trouble for it. So they typically have to be customer pay type deals, not warranty. So luckily most people understand. I think that's it for here. This one got escalated to an FSC, so a field service engineer called me today, and he said, listen to this. And this makes a lot of sense. What's going on? Listen to this. They said on these units that are 3.3 liter motors that have the hybrid setup, and even others, he said, think about this. You just put port injectors in there, direct injectors in there, and you put all plugs in there, right? And it's been functioning fine for months. No more cold misfire on startup, cold start, or anything like that. Where do you park your vehicles? And I said, well, I park them in the shop. And he said, and then what happens first thing in the morning? He said, well, when we all get here, we move them back outside because we don't want people to steal equipment out of the cars. And he said, exactly. So you start it up. They back them out in a hurry because they're trying to start their day. They're trying to get customers in and stuff like that, get the oil changes started. And then they run them right back outside the lot and they park them. So you may run this vehicle for a total of 30 seconds to a minute. Cold start, cold start, cold start, cold start. You pull it in, you pull it out. You pull it in, you pull it out. The vehicle never warms up. Never one single time does it warm up. So every time you're cold starting that vehicle, you're not getting all the fuel out of it. You're not letting it get warm. You're not circulating fluid and stuff for it. So eventually, doing this over and over and over and over again as you're waiting for parts on these squads, what ends up happening, you foul out the plugs. It's something that's going to happen over and over and over again. So while the vehicles are at the dealership, especially these squad cars, you need to start instructing the porters when they pull them out to at least let them warm up for several minutes before even shutting them down. You got to let them get hot. You keep them cold, and they don't even have a chance to warm up before you get outside and shut them back off again. You're going to end up eventually screwing the plugs, doing it over and over and over again. So he said, what I want you to do with it is that I want you to get the transmission installed on the vehicle. And go ahead and I'll allow you to throw another set of plugs in here because you guys have been cold starting this thing and then shutting it back off cold for several months now. So we'll take care of it. We'll eat the labor and time and stuff on that. But don't do that anymore on these squad cars or these hybrid Explorers, because we're starting to see that they don't like to be started and shut off cold. They like to be started, warmed up, let the fluid and stuff start to get through it, and then you could shut it off. But don't start it up, pull it outside, and then shut it off right away, because they do not like that. And they foul out the plugs very quick doing stuff like that. So this one's going to get the trans and another set of plugs. I don't remember what was wrong with this one. I think this one, this one is in for the hub actuator O-ring. I think the hub actuator O-ring on this squad car is leaking, and they're very thin, they're very chintzy, and they just keep coming back. You can replace a hub actuator O-ring right now, that goes through the front of the oil pan. It's like the old Trailblazer design. So you got a CV axle that goes up on an angle, and then it goes into an assembly that has a hub actuator that goes through the front of the oil pan into the other side of the compartment of the engine bay with a small mini transfer case that transfers out to the other side, a little drive shaft that goes back to the transfer case at the transmission. It's a complete disaster design. That's why these things sound like a mechanical bucket of ratcheting type systems going on underneath these vehicles. It's not a simple system anymore. It's a CV axle into a hub actuator that goes through the front of the oil pan into like a mini small transfer case that has a drive shaft, a front drive shaft that goes back to a transfer case at the transmission, while another CV axle goes over to the passenger side wheel. It's just a mess. And then the four-wheel drive module sits underneath all of the plastic material and stuff and the leather material, the liners underneath the squad car seats. You got to pull all that stuff just to get underneath the module for the four-wheel drive unit that malfunctions. Where do you think all that sand and salt and debris and everything else ends up accumulating? Eventually it'll get underneath the plastic, it'll get down underneath the floor and stuff like that, it'll get down underneath the mats, and it sits right on top of that module and rots out the connectors and everything else. So I think that's what that is. That's a hub actuator O-ring on this. But then it'll be back in here 3 or 4 months later with another leaking hub actuator O-ring. Just the hub actuator O-rings that they're making at Ford and delivering to the dealerships is just atrocious. They're not fixing. I mean, they're just super thin. They have no rigidity to them, and it's almost like when you put the hub actuator back into the assembly, it just goes doop. It doesn't even fight you. It doesn't do anything. It's like the O-ring that they made for that design is completely engineered bad. It's not even the right size O-ring that's being supplied for the hub actuator. They need to be a size up, and then they would seal better. I don't think there's anything else that's going on at the shop at the moment. I don't think we have anything else going on right now. Yeah, that's it for now. So that's kind of like the update on our shop truck and kind of what we have going on here at the shop. Been having a lot of customers come in and see me and thank me and stuff like that. I had a guy locally, he's got a fleet of Fords over here in the industrial park, and I seen him in parts last week, and as I was walking through, he was like waving at me like this, and I was like, what's going on, man? And he was like, dude, I watch you all the time, man. I literally have my business right over here in all my Ford trucks. And he was like, thank you for all you do. And I was like, dude, this is freaking awesome, man. I love when people just talk to you. They communicate with you. They're not scared of you and stuff like that. And it's not an ego thing. They're like, appreciate everything, man. And then today, the owner of that the Explorer ST that I just did the exhaust on that was rattling, and I was telling you guys the TSB for putting the clamp around the flex pipe and stuff doesn't work. It doesn't actually make it quiet. He messaged me on the channel as well, and he was like, dude, that's my vehicle right there. Like literally the one that you have in your shop right now that you're working on, that's my vehicle. And he was like, dude, thanks, man. Every time I come there, I want you working on my vehicle from now on. And I'm thinking to myself, that's what I do, man. I try to give everybody the best no matter what. So no matter what. And now he actually saw the other videos that I did on the sounds that come from the Explorers, when I told you guys about the ratcheting type sound coming from the four-wheel drive and these cop cars when you go to pull. Let me see if I can. The cop cars are bad. They're way worse than the passenger units. I'll show you real quick. You hear how loud this thing is on startup? And then eventually, oh yes, long day. Eventually now it gets super quiet. It rattles and rattles and rattles and rattles, and then all of a sudden it's quiet. And it just, these cars, when they start, they reek of fuel. They reek of fuel so bad that it's like somebody is dumping a can of gasoline right in your lap. When these Squad Car Explorers start, it is just nothing but fuel smell coming all around the vehicle. And then after about 45 seconds, 30, 45 seconds, all of a sudden it clears up and it's like a different vehicle completely. It doesn't make anywhere near the sounds. Oh, this is I forget, you gotta do the double lock hit. You gotta click it twice. See, that's what I'm talking about right there. Those little flaps come up right next to the seat. All the water and stuff gets down in there and it gets right on top of that four-wheel drive module. See how easy, how much room is in this? This is the naturally aspirated 3.3. This is not the hybrid one. It's just super easy kind of getting in here to do anything. I mean, the plastic is a little deceiving, but it's actually very, very easy to work on this motor, especially with no hybrid stuff all over it. And then let's see if we can get it to do the pop and click when you go to take off. Sometimes you don't even have to. I'll show you. Let me see if I can get it to do it. I'm going to put it in drive and then brake torque it. You hear that grunt? And I've got the brakes matted. Sometimes it'll be like a tinging, ding, 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 from all four wheels. And I don't even have to put any gas, or I don't have to. I can take my foot off of the gas completely and just go from drive to park, and it'll still make noise. And these kind of do what you guys experience with the customers' cars just make like a tap sound. Oh, here I am right in the freaking camera. The customers' cars, they make more of like a tinging tap sound from each wheel when you go to get on it real hard or hit the brakes real hard. You'll hear like a metallic snap, and it'll go ting 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 ting, and it'll come from corners randomly when you're going hard to acceleration, or you brake real hard, or you go in reverse real hard. Sometimes it doesn't even have to be real hard, and you'll hear like where the CV axles go through the knuckle assembly. There's supposed to be a shim there that's spaced a certain way, and I don't think any of those shims are actually set up right. It's not the torque converter when it's doing that metallic tanging sound. We've already fixed one of them that they approved. We pulled all four wheels, pulled the knuckles back, re-shimmed everything, and I think all three wheels got quiet other than one wheel. We could not get the tinging tap on acceleration. It's like you get one tap on takeoff, one tap on stop, one tap on reverse or something like that, and that's pretty much it. And I'll show you on C16. Here's what it's like when you start this thing. When it cold start misfires. PL303, PL306, and it's been fine for months, but this is the one. Oh no, it'll high speed chase. Those suckers will get up and move, man. They're no joke. They will get up and move. They will run. So once they're running and they're warmed up, that sucker's gone. They move good. No, they don't like these. They like the originals. Now, watch this. I'm going to start this up. This is the one that was 20,000 miles. Ready to drive. Hybrid mode is on. Now I'm going to hit the gas to get it to turn on. Check engine light's already on. It's misfiring right now. Now watch. It's misfiring bad on cold start right now. Now watch. It'll get better and better as it warms up. And about a minute in, it'll be like a brand new motor. I usually put my hand right here and I can feel when it stops misfiring. Shine, what makes you think that? I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't even know why people jump on my streams and I'm like literally teaching you guys about this stuff and trying to help you out, but then you trash the company I work for when I'm literally helping you. It makes no sense. So I'll give it some acceleration. Yeah, this time this one, it's not clearing up now. Before it would clear up, now it's not even clearing up. Yeah. Well, that's the direct indication. Plugs is definitely needed, that's for sure. Plugs. So, when I get back, I'll be throwing a set of plugs in here. I think that's like the second or third time, Bob, that he's been on here and said, you know, I don't mind if people have an opinion on Ford, but when I'm in the middle of showing you guys stuff and trying to show you what I'm experiencing every single day, and we got people on here that are, oh, Ford is junk, Ford is this, come on here and learn. Come on here and let's talk about things and powwow and make suggestions and stuff like that. Don't get on here and just blatantly talk trash just because that's the type of person you are and you have nothing good to say. Anyway, that's pretty much it. That's all we have going on, you know. It wasn't idle time, JD. I explained what that was earlier. I'm not sure if you were on or not, but that's not idle time that's killing that. It's that vehicle's been fixed for 2 months now, and it's only been here at the dealership, and cold start after cold start after cold start after cold start. And the engineer was talking to me today, and he was saying that they just never get warmed up completely, and you end up fouling out the plugs. They go from in here to right here on the other side of the wall in the parking lot. They get shut off. Then they go from out there and here at the end of the night, they get shut off, and it's a cycle over and over and over again, and they never run the motors. They barely get warm. How many miles could the plug wires or coil packs be in? No, they're it's coil on plug here, and that's not the problem. We've already been down that road. It's now a vehicle with 20,000 miles. Could that be plausible? Yes, But is it likely? No, it's not. .3 liter in the new Explorer, the same as the 3.3 liter that was in the old F-150. I haven't looked into that. I can't tell you that. I don't think so. I think it's a completely different design, but I could be lying to you right now. I'm only here tonight because I wanted to get the plow truck taken care of. I wanted to get the major stuff, electrical issues and keys programmed and everything on that, because it is starting to get colder here. And I don't want to leave that with somebody else when I leave and then they don't know where I left off, so I wanted to take care of that. And then I wanted to show you guys around and kind of talk to you a little bit, because tomorrow I won't be on here very much. And then over the weekend I'm not going to be on here at all, because I'll be in Texas at the Renaissance Fair. So I wanted to catch up with you guys and kind of do a little powwow tonight, show you my world, my life, and everything that's going on, and kind of update you on some stuff. And then next week, the 28th, I go in for hernia surgery, and then you guys are going to have a lot of me over a 7 to 10 day period. So we're going to be talking about some stuff, looking at some products. Maybe we'll go travel around a little bit on my time off recovering from my surgery and go look at some tool stores and stuff like that, and get ourselves into a little bit of trouble. Yeah, the red one is. You missed the whole no, Trevin, fuel filter's not too restrictive. That's not what it is. It's the spark plugs, man. Ordered a 22 F-450. Bad idea. Seems like everyone is having problems with 22s. So far, we've had some issues with the couple 22s that we've dealt with. Not here at my dealer. It's been people that have ordered their 22s from other dealers and then came here. The only thing so far that I've seen a couple instances on is the rear end making noise. After they've put 400 or 500 miles on it, the rear end starts to make a little bit of noise, and so we'll see. I've got a 122 that was Anthony's. It came in, and we're trying to look for a whole entire rear assembly, M300 for it, Dana M300. And then I have another one coming in Monday, and I am going to have to look at his 22 250 or 350 single wheel, and his rear end is also possibly making noise. Yeah, the 3.3 is naturally aspirated. The 3.0 is not naturally aspirated. It's a pretty lightning performing 3.0 twin turbo. And there's also the 3.3 hybrid that is both hybrid drive and gasoline. But what I'm so impressed with the hybrid is I've literally left the shop in hybrid mode and made it all the way down to Route 72, downhill, back uphill, going 40, 45 mile an hour, and the gas engine never kick on until I get up to about 50, 55 mile an hour. And that hybrid system, when it's running right in these Explorers, it literally will function almost by itself. And I've never been in a vehicle where I could drive that fast, only in hybrid mode. And sometimes when the conditions are right and you're not super heavy-footed and you just want to move nice and easy, not slow, pretty good, these vehicles, they'll run only in hybrid mode. They have the hybrid motor so strong in these things that it'll run straight in hybrid mode up to 40, 45 mile an hour. Do I think the 4.6.3 valves that come in earlier Mustangs are good engines? I actually liked them. I thought they performed very well. I thought they sounded very unique. For what it was for the time, I think it was a phenomenal motor. But you definitely had your issues with not being able to get spark plugs out of the cylinder heads, and then certain people claimed that there were certain years where the 3-valve 4.6s were blowing plugs. Other guys said we never had problems with them blowing plugs out of the 4.6.3 valves in the Mustangs. It's whatever. I've never had a problem with a 4.6.3 valve blowing plugs out of a head. I know other guys have said they have, but I've always had good luck with them. The town car? The town car is great. I love the town car. The town car is probably one of the most enjoyable times of my day. Sitting in that car, driving home, relaxing, hearing the purr of that 462 valve with that Roush axle back exhaust and 2.5-inch pipes all the way back, just cruising down the interstate. It's soothing. It's very, very relaxing to me. I love the 462 valve. I love the way it sounds. I love the way they perform when you really put your mind to making them perform for you. Are they ever going to be one of the fastest cars? No, they're not. They're just awesome vehicles, and they perform very well for what they are. Yeah, all the manufacturers right now are having all kinds of different issues. There's technicians from all the dealerships right now that are talking to me about all the issues that they're having. What was the new thing with Toyota they were just talking about? Something to do with something not being programmed properly from the factory in some of the newer cars. We've had several customers at our Toyota store experience on brand new Toyota's oil leaks. But overall, I mean, I do honestly have to say Toyota does seem like they have less problems in the grand scheme of things than most other manufacturers. It is what it is. It's the truth. There's something that Toyota does do better with their manufacturing than most other manufacturers do, but I'm not a Kool-Aid drinker. Ford has their fuck-ups, Chevy has their fuck-ups, Dodge has their fuck-ups, Toyota does, Honda does. They all do. I'm not going to sit here and claim that manufacturers don't have problems. They do. It just all depends on what type of Kool-Aid you want to drink. It's just what it all comes down to. Yeah, I'm getting the mesh implant. But it's all new revised robotic stuff. It's not the same stuff that was before. I appreciate that. It's a Mia. What about the Raptor V8? Is it coming out soon? I don't think it's coming out soon, but Shine, I get it, man. I get that you like the channel and it's nothing towards me. I just don't like the bashing of manufacturers here, man. I don't know how many times I have to tell that to people. Like, when we're live, please don't do that stuff to me. Like, I don't care if you do it in the comment section when you're talking and trashing each other and stuff like that, but don't put me in that spot where I have to deal with that. Thoughts on the upcoming electric F-150? I mean, I'm excited for it. I'm optimistic about it. I don't know that we've come far enough so far with everything else that we're trying to iron out, and we haven't quite ironed out yet, that we should be pushing for this new extreme technology of nothing but pure electric. But at the same time, I'm not going to doubt that it's going to be a knock out of the park type of deal. I mean, I think over a month ago, I was listening to the radio station and they said they already had 140,000 plus pre-ordered units. That's crazy. How often do you get people saying send that POS to the junkyard or crusher? I don't really hear that anymore. Burning the midnight oil? No, just trying to get some stuff caught up. I'm about to leave and go home. $777. It's going good. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Wrangler says the 7.3 gas is old school and solidly built. No problem thus far. The 7.3 gas motor, if I had to buy a new Super Duty, that's the one I would buy. I'd buy the new 7.3 gas motor for sure, 100%. You've heard the 3.0s are known for blowing around 30,000 miles. I haven't seen one yet. I've seen them with 25, 30, 35,000 miles. They're running completely fine. Is it a plug-in? I think it is. Yes, it is. Is there an update to the Roush F-150 with the blown engine. Are you talking about the one where they put Lincoln rims and stuff on it that I had on the channel here a couple months back? And there was some local troll that called up to the dealership here and was trying to send an email to my manager. Oh, you know what your technician's doing? He's working on his personal vehicle in the evening time whenever business hours are over. I just wanted you to know your technician's working on his own vehicle. He's such a bad boy. Yeah, the guy that watched that video and emailed my service manager and was telling my service manager that I work on my own personal vehicle and I'm talking about some legal matter with Ford and getting the Roush engine covered or something, which is complete hogwash and nothing but a lie, because I never did any of that. Yeah, no. Ford said no. We're out of it. We're not taking care of that. We've already paid for 2 engines that have been put in it. You know, luckily the guy that bought it, the dealer that bought it, that brought it here and wanted us to look at it, still had his terms with the auction where he bought it for and sent it back. So nobody ate the money. It actually went back to the original owner that was trying to unload it. It's a good motor. The 3.3 liter Duratec in the F-150 is a great motor. The 3.3, the 3.5, the 3.7, any of the naturally aspirated series that you could have got over a span of years in the F-150 is a knock out of the park combo. You're still getting around 300 horse, you're still getting four-wheel drive in a lot of the units, you're still getting a decent interior and stuff. I love those NA setups. They're just simple, they're easy to perform DIY stuff on yourself. If you ever wanted to rip the front cover off, do a water pump or anything like that, there's like, you could fit 2 or 3 bodies on the front of the motor, right up in front of the radiator. I mean, there's literally nothing difficult to work on in the NA F-150s. They're so easy to work on. Feedback on the Mach-E from a text perspective? Nope, 0 feedback. I have not even sat in one. I've just videoed one and maybe sat in the seat one time when I was videoing. I've never driven one. I've never PDI'd one. I've never worked on one. I've only seen some TSBs on some kind of subframe bolts from the factory that need to be torqued or replaced because they weren't installed correctly, but that's pretty much it. I don't know anything about a Mach-E at all. 0. Any advice for getting the O2 sensor that's in the cap on the passenger side of the 3.7 Ford Transit out? How did I do that? I can't remember how I did that. I know one of them, when they came out of warranty, I have an old school. I've had it for about, not old school, but I've had it for about 7 or 8 years. And I also have a master oxygen sensor set from Mac that I use for difficult, hard to reach O2 sensors that work really well. But I think I had a problem one time where none of it would work, and I had to literally cut the downstream exhaust where it Y pipes together, slide the catalytic converter out of it, do my work outside of the vehicle, slide the cat back in the vehicle, tighten everything back up with new nuts, and then re-weld the exhaust back in. That's how I had to do the repair. And I told the customer about it, and I was very open from the beginning that that's what I was going to do. And he said, I don't care. Just fix it. I want it running right. That's all I care about. Do whatever you got to do. It is late. Here it's 9:57, and I'm still in the shop. I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit because I won't have much time with you this weekend. There was a lot of complaints on water leaks. There was a couple complaints on oil consumption from Toyota that we heard from the technicians. But other than that, I mean, most people that I know of that work at our Toyota store, which is our flagship, they're super impressed with the product. They're super impressed with the facility. They're super impressed with the amount of money and the infrastructure that Toyota builds, and how nice they want their dealerships to look, how nice they want their cars to look, how nice they want the customers taken care of. It's like priority number 1. So I think Toyota, out of all manufacturers, there's a reason why people are always bragging about Toyota, and I get it. Most of the time I don't even have a problem with them bragging about Toyota because they have the right to do that. It's the amount of kiss ass that goes along with it that I don't like. And I'm not talking bad about people. It's just the type of persona that's built up, and I'm like, oh God, just spare me, man. Okay, all manufacturers have problems, and some are better than others, but I've never been so impressed with a manufacturer that I want to be that clingy to them and their whole image and stuff. Okay, they're great. We get it. Let's just move on. But I tell you what, I've never had, driven, or experienced a more reliable vehicle than my 4.6 2-valve town car, a Grand Marquis P71. To me, call it bias if you will, because you are right when you say that. You can say, Rich, you're just biased. That's why you're saying that. And I will say, you're right. But there's a lot of truth behind that. I've never experienced such an easy to work on vehicle and such a reliable vehicle as that vehicle. To me, that will probably be the most ultimate reliable vehicle of all time, with that nice purest V8 sound, feel, and push from the rear of the vehicle that I've ever experienced in a reliable vehicle. But that is my bias, and I own that. I admit that. Austin said, apparently there is now a magnesium shortage. You know there's more than just that. You know there's shortages right now that are not even being talked about. Do you know that the industrial industry in general is being impacted super hard right now with shortages? Do you know that farmers and stuff like that with equipment and stuff that they need, tires and all this other stuff, somebody told me the other day, look at the ag industry right now. They're having a hell of a time getting things that they need to stay functional. It's like a collapse, man, and it's sad. And they say it's not going to get better anytime soon. When I talk to some of the guys at the distribution center, they're like, we've never seen so many empty stalls and holes and aisles in our whole entire life. It's super bad. There's a gentleman that popped up on the channel here that I need to remember. Maybe somebody can pop up and remind me, maybe Bob or somebody, whoever, Corey, maybe you can remind me tomorrow when I'm at the airport waiting for a plane or something like that, to jump on and show you guys the images. This is literally a brand new, I call it brand new because it's brand new to me, P71 cop car, literal P71 cop car with 4,200 miles on it. And it's for sale. I've never seen one with that low a mileage in the condition that this P71 is in for $17,000. It is in immaculate shape. Showroom quality, showroom finish. The tinted windows have already been done. It is the police rims, the hubcaps, the white package, the spotlight and everything on it. Still factory, the way it was built, for sale in Arizona. And a gentleman shared the pictures and stuff with me, and he said, you can share it if you want. It's not, I'm no pressure. If you want your guys to see it and know where it's at, it is available. It's for sale. It's 17 grand for it, and it's got 4,200 miles on it, I think. I would love for Ford and Toyota to work together. I would love some kind of relationship between the two of them. That would be absolutely phenomenal. Crappy ABS rings? I haven't seen that. Anything better than GM Chevy? They really have terrible quality these days. Well, I think GM started to fall apart come 2016 and on. GM really started losing a lot of its quality as of like 2016, which I find that about a lot of manufacturers as well. Really started to kind of get into hairy situations when it came to 10-speed transmissions and technology and more features and stuff and creature comforts added to vehicles. Everything really started to kind of fall apart. It was the push for the user wanting more and the companies trying to keep up with it and trying to give them that. And then people would complain about so much plastic, but yet there's more features. Well, when you want more features and more technology, you get more plastic. There's a lot of things that go with that. They go hand in hand. And a lot of people don't realize if the industry is moving, if people are wanting more than what the pace at what the industry is moving, there's a lot of cheap stuff that comes out of that to give you those features and stuff that you need. So circa 2016 is really a bad time for most manufacturers when things really started to fall apart, when there was a bigger push for more technology, more capability of Wi-Fi and hands-free, and multiple screens and quad climate control and all. I don't know, whatever it was. I'm just talking. Just people wanted more, and they were going to get more, but with Ford, with Chevy, with Dodge, the American manufacturers especially, 2016 wasn't necessarily the greatest time. And now we're trying to pack 10 gears and into a transmission and expect it to hold up and not hunt and have downshift and upshift problems. There's all kinds of those issues. I had a 2014 that was rebuilt 3 times for the shuttering issue. Had to get rid of the car. No, they didn't fix it. It still does it. They paid a lot of customers. They extended the warranty coverage on the DPS-6. It still isn't fixed to this day. But there was a class action lawsuit that forced into extended coverages, and there was all kinds of things that happened. And luckily, those vehicles are so old now that a lot of people have moved out of them. A lot of people are still in them and have never had problems. But at the same time, we still get them in here a lot. We're still doing multiple clutches every single month. This one's going to be a clutch right here. They get 30,000-40,000 miles on them a lot of times, and they're right back here for a new clutch. Sometimes you put a new DPS-6 setup in there, a clutch pack setup in there, and then they're back 10,000 miles later, and they've already failed, and they're getting a new setup again. So unfortunately, the answer to that would be no. There was never really any better quality put into them, just extended warranty, and the manufacturer eating more money trying to make it somewhat right, but not completely right to the customer. Got a 543 valve that just had a complete timing job and that has a loud tap coming from the passenger side valve cover. It had rollers put in, still tapping, only does it over 1,000 RPMs, any input. Honestly, unless it was in my stall and I was tearing it down looking at it, I mean, was fuel components changed? Was spark plugs changed? Were there other things changed that could cause that? When you had the timing job and stuff done, if you're going to go in there and put rollers and everything in, was the factory manifold put back on it? A lot of guys would prefer the manifold to be changed because of any type of debris or maybe metal components or something like that getting into the rest of the motor or in the intake manifold. A lot of guys will opt to change that as well, but it's all a personal thing. It's not a motor job. It's just timing change, but some guys will do that while they're there. There's multiple things that could have went along with that. I mean, I don't know. I couldn't give you anything right off the top of my head, and I'd have to have it looking at PIDs, and I'd have to hear the sound as well. So it's kind of hard to tell over a text on a live chat. Thoughts on the 06 or older Chevy 2500 HD with a 6.0 gas? I love them. I love the older ones. I love especially those, the 06 and prior. I mean, those things were freaking tanks, man. Those 2500 HDs, you can literally run them into a side of a damn building, shut them off, start them back up, and run them for another 100,000 miles. They were freaking tanks. What's your POV as an experienced tech? How's the 5.9 liter 12 valve Cummins? It's like one of the most bulletproof engines ever. I love the 5.9 12 valve Cummins. Absolutely phenomenal motor. I love my 3.5 in my Lincoln. Bob, yeah, that's Bob's got 140 some thousand miles on his Lincoln. So 2007? I think it was a 2007, right? And it looks like it's still brand new. The interior looks brand new. Underneath the vehicle looks brand new. The motor is bone dry. It looks brand new. Inside the motor looks brand new. I mean, I've never seen something with that many miles look that clean. So it's that Lincoln is definitely a Lincoln SUV that I'd never get rid of. I'd run that damn thing until the motor's done. Yep, still at work. 6, 7 Power Strokes with over 150,000 miles. I mean, they're kind of still babies. They still have a long life ahead of them. I mean, we get them in here all the time with 300,000 miles, 400,000 miles on them, and they're just running. But it just all depends. A lot of them put the disaster prevention kit on it now. Guys are real anal about oil changes and, you know, fuel contamination setups and stuff like that. You know, it really is a very powerful motor, and probably the best thing that we've had so far in the Power Stroke series, power-wise and reliability, when it comes to everyday use and beating on it, other than the 7.3. I mean, most people say you're never going to beat that motor. Power-wise and reliability, it's a great motor. But there's a lot of emissions control stuff on it. There's a lot of stuff going on with that motor that really hamper that motor. So there's a downfall to it as well. I'd like to get an F-150 single cab with a 5.0 and supercharge that baby. Oh man, ungodly fast. They're just ridiculous fast. I mean, the way they take off, the single cab, just a stage 1 Roush supercharger kit or something on that, it almost makes you feel sick to your stomach when those things take off and launch. Explain some of the recalls on a 2018 Explorer XLT. Are you talking about like the emission stuff where you got to reprogram the HVAC control module and then reinstall 2 new drains in the rear, the toe links, where you got to replace the toe link bolts in the back and the toe links early on, and then eventually come back in for an inspection, make sure the grommet and the metal sleeve and stuff that pivots back and forth isn't locked up and the knuckle's not wore out. Outside of that, I've not really had any serious recalls. 2017 had a stamped steel edge seat frame that was stamped incorrectly from the factory, and it was too sharp. And you had to run felt strips along the edge, so people, when they would reach down next to their seat to grab something on the interior side through the flow through center console area, you didn't slice your hand open. So a bunch of them came in last year, and we had to do a lot of like felt taping along the edge to stop people from cutting themselves. Other than that, I haven't done a lot of recalls on them. There's not a ton of recalls that I've ever done on them, to be honest with you. Okay, you sold me on the 3.3 F-150. I appreciate a truck that's easy to work on. I mean, just the 3.3 F-150 it's just an easy, man, just easy going everyday driver. It's just no stress with it and stuff. It's get in, fire the thing up and go. I mean, it's low maintenance. It's not even you don't even have to think about the thing failing on you. And when it fails, most of the time it's so simple to get it back up and going. I mean, it's such an underrated truck. Yeah, it doesn't have as much power as all the other ones, but my God, it's such a reliable truck. I wish we had that reliability of that truck in other platforms. Phone's dying, so I kind of set it up here. Trying to get to at least most of the questions. Chip shortage? I don't know. We're starting to have a bunch of vehicles show up. We'll have like a slew of vehicles show up. We'll get a couple dozen, and then we don't get any, and then it's back to empty again. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. Hello, Travis. I've driven Toyota Tacomas. I like the way they perform off-road. I like the way they perform whenever, you know, you're in the snow and stuff like that. Definitely way ahead of its time. Almost no issues there at all. I've never really been super impressed with them. The other day I saw one that was all decked out. That was just freaking nice, man. The guy had the flares on it. He had the bigger tires on it. He had all the accessories decked out. It looked like it was all factory installed. And it was a gorgeous truck. But again, the resale value on those trucks are absolutely astounding, man. Just you can find like an older Tacoma that's been very well taken care of that's still going for between $10,000 and $15,000. The resale value is just absolutely crazy on those, and even older ones, old ones that are still going $7,000, $10,000 resale value. They just hold their value so well. Have I ever seen timing chain problems on a Windsor 4.6 Triton? Yeah, Are they super common? I wouldn't say. We don't do a lot of them, and they're in here. Um, you know, we still get construction companies and independent painting guys and stuff that have their own business that come in here. We don't really have problems with them. I've done a couple fuse boxes that were rotted out because the covers don't seal very much, but nothing too crazy. I like my old twin I-beam Ford Rangers better than anything. They're tanks, man. Local dealer mechanics are going to private shops in droves. Don't have all that fat warranty cash coming in anymore. Fat warranty cash. Yeah, it's not so much fat warranty cash anymore, but we'll see what happens the first of the year, because remember, the first of the year in the state of Illinois, the manufacturers are supposed to go to January 1st the same pay as manufacturer pay. We'll see how all that plays out. We're interested to try, we're interested in figuring out how that's going to play out with it finally being approved in this state, that the manufacturers aren't going to skimp by with paying less than what the customers pay, but it could actually hurt us in the process. Vape in the shop, absolutely. Vape in the shop every day, daily. That's how I felt about my 99 Taurus. Put 700,000 miles on it before it rotted out. That's Nathan. Nathan got rid of his at 540 some or 500 some thousand miles, and the bell housing of the transmission was cracked. The bolts were so rotten that they were stuck in the motor and stuff. And I think the guy at the salvage yard, when he pulled the motor and transmission, told Nate that he was able to save. I think he saved the motor. I don't know what it was, but he told him the condition of what the transmission was in, and he said it's a good thing that you got rid of it because that transmission was shot. I think the bell housing was cracked, and the bolts were so rusted and rotten that you couldn't get them out of the bell housing of the trans where they went into the block. But they climb, man. They climb. The motor's just so many miles. I love the P71, one of my favorite. Brian Laundry was found dead. Just an update. Is that the update that I seen this morning or something like that, where they said they were trying to confirm the remains? They're pretty sure that they found his remains, but they had to identify. I think that's what I was reading or seeing pop up on the news. Busted while at garage. Volkswagen makes the easiest modern cars to work on. Can I get a high five? I don't know. I've never heard anybody really praise Volkswagen too much, to be honest with you. There's one of our lube techs that he has a it's not a Jetta. I think it's a Golf. I don't know what it is. It's a pretty fast little turbo car. He's got kind of exhaust work done, and I don't think it's been tuned or anything. Just basic, tasteful mods, and he loves it. But I see most of the younger kids really into Volkswagens, to be honest with you. What time am I going to the? I think we're gonna head out sometime around like noon tomorrow or something, or maybe like 1. 470W, rough shifting and vibration while shifting. We've done valve bodies in them, torque converters in them. When's the last time you serviced the transmission in that thing? I know a lot of people say, well, with super high mileage or when it's already doing stuff like that, why service the transmission? Why not? When you're already to the point where you feel like you're almost going to need a transmission, why not? We do it all the time. We had a Honda CR-V come in here. It was like a 2012 model or something like that, and it was shifting real harsh and a delay hard shift, just a kind of bang type shift. And even the independent guy down there that's been doing this stuff, he's my age. Yeah, we're both the same age. He said we'd do it all the time at the dealer. We'd have customers come in and they were having harsh shifting, bad shifting issues, and it's already that far gone. I mean, what have you got to lose? We would change, some of their fluid, or we'd flush their fluid out, or not a full flush, but a drain and fill. and then we'd throw an additive in, like a Valvoline transmission, like stabilizer additive or something like that. And the customer would be fine for another 20-30,000 miles before it would start acting up again. And you know, when you have to go around the second time, by then you know it's probably time for a transmission, but you can get more life out of it by just adding some good fluid to it and stuff without destroying it. But then sometimes you do finish it off and just go ahead and destroy it. So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You never know what you're going to get into. On the Duramax, I like Duramaxes, like I said earlier, up until 2016. After that, they look good, but they're starting to get kind of ugly. It almost looks like a damn railroad vehicle going down the roads now. It looks like they got taller, the bodies got fatter, the tires got thinner, and I think past like 2016, 2017, they just don't really look as good to me anymore. It looks like a railroad truck. 4.6 dual overhead cam from a 03 Mach 2 or Mach 1. Great motor. I've never really had any issues with that motor. Probably an outstanding motor, actually. The potential to make power with that motor is unreal. Just absolutely unreal. I mean, I'm talking easy 700-800 horsepower, but my old service manager pulled the motor in his 4.6 dual overhead cam, had a speed shop sleeve the cylinders, and just did like a three angle valve job or 5-angle valve job or something like that on the cylinder heads, and 1400 horsepower with that motor. I think it was the crank, the sleeves, and the cylinder heads he had worked a little bit. He had just a couple $1,000s in it, and he's got videos on the internet of him literally launching this 4.6 dual overhead cam, 1400 horsepower in this thing, with front wheels coming off the dam. Just, it'll start like this and just whoa, just through the 60 foot, and then just nice and easy bring it down. And nobody ever thought that you could make that type of power with a 4.6 4 valve, and this dude did it. He was like one of the first, or if not the first in the country to do it. But that's his thing. He races. That's what his pastime is. And we're not talking, you know, regular street 700-800 horse Chargers and Challengers you see running around. We're talking 1,500 plus. I think one of his cars is 2,700 horsepower, and he can't even keep it on the road. It's a big block twin turbo 88 or 90 Fox body Mustang that's all sent out to a speed shop with tubular pipes and everything put through it, and big old giant drag slicks, and just ungodly amounts of money put into this thing, all custom fab. And that was originally how he started, was one of the old school 4.6 dual overhead cam motors, and just absolutely freaking killed it with that motor and made a ton of money. Still has the car to this day. It's still one of his prized possessions that's in his fleet of cars that he still has, and it's just phenomenal setup. I need to go home. You're right. The roof rail one on the Explorers, they tried a few different things that wasn't working. They tried fasteners and glue, and then they finally came out and said, look, on the Explorers with the roof rail detachment, what you're going to have to do is right where the rails, they're flat on top, and they come back and they start to taper down on the ends. At the end, we want you to measure one spot, go in another spot, and you drill 2 holes, and you put Christmas tree push clips, like heavier duty ones, and that's what they're using to refasten the assembly down. They want more of a permanent type fix than adhesives and locking tabs. They actually want you to put something through the vehicle now to hold the roof rails down. I scheduled one lady that was super upset, actually really threatening to the service writer. I got all her parts and stuff in, and then never seen her show back up after she just blew up on the service writer about us not having parts for it. She never came back to actually get it done. How often do you need to change power steering fluid? I do mine about every year, between a year and 2 years. It's so easy to do, and I don't do like the proper flushing and everything else that people say that you're supposed to do. There's no need for that. About a year in, I'll suck out the reservoir and I'll dump fresh fluid in it, and I'll run it for a while, and I'll let all that stuff circulate through there. The next day when I come to work, I'll pull the reservoir back out and I'll fill it back up again, so I don't get any of that air in the system and stuff like that, that whine, that excessive pump noise. Yeah, there's always going to be just a little bit of minute dirty fluid in there, but 90% of it's all brand new, and I've never ever had to do a full-blown flush like a lot of people claim you have to do. It's not necessary. If you just keep fresh fluid in there, you're fine. So about every year or two, I'll do this procedure, and I never have ever had a pump go bad or had bad fluid or anything like that, and my stuff always looks like it, all the time looks like it's brand new. What's my favorite flavor of vape? Watermelon. I like the posh watermelon flavor, but I can't ever find it. Do I need to drain the coolant to do engine temp sensor? One that tells the dash on a 94 2.3. Is that the plastic housing that sits up front? I'm trying to remember which one that is. I don't remember the last time I did one of those. Well, hell, we can pull it up real quick. I've got the database right here in front of me. Anything that you need to know, I got literally sitting right in front of me. So why not just pull it up, right? Let the computer start up and I'll look that up for you real quick. Remind me again, 94 2.3. Is the 6.2 liter reliable engine after 100,000 miles? Oh my God, yes. Absolutely phenomenal engine. I haven't even seen one really wear out yet. The only one I've seen wear out, we have at the end of the shop down here, is a brand new one actually. I think at 225,000 miles they developed some kind of knock, lower end knock, and they wanted to put a new motor in it. Well, they put a new motor in it and didn't change the intake manifold, and metal debris that was in the intake manifold got in the new motor, and they ruined the new motor within like 500 miles. And that's why anytime you're doing a new motor, always put a new intake manifold on it. If it's because of some kind of knock, tap, rattle, whatever it is, always new intake manifold. That's kind of like manufacturer DIY rebuild, typical thing that you should be doing, that a lot of people forget to save money, and then they end up screwing themselves over in the long run. Okay, so computer is booted up. Let me go into my PTS homepage. Let's see if I can even pull that up. That might be so old that I might even be able to pull up the information. I might have to go to the manual, the hard book. I'm logging in right now. 94 Ranger 2.3. Vehicle ID. Oh, luckily I can go back to 94. The latest I can go back, it says, is 92. And then Ranger, go. Let's see here. Workshop manual. And then, what was the question again? Just so I can see. 94 2.3. Drain the coolant to do the engine temp sensor. Let me type that in real quick. Engine 2.3, valve cover, camshaft follower, cylinder head, front cover, auxiliary bearings, auxiliary shaft, oil pan, oil filter, valve clearance adjustments. Okay, so that's not it. Engine cooling. Diagnosis and removal and installation. Thermostat water, all except 3.0. I think you said temp sensor. So this one says temperature sending unit removal and installation. I'm pretty sure that's the same exact thing. Remove radiator cap to relieve any pressure and then replace cap. This reduces coolant loss during sender replacement. Disconnect the temperature sending unit wire at the sending unit. Prepare the new temperature sender for unit installation by applying pipe sealant Teflon D8AZ 19554 Apple, just Teflon tape, or equivalent, or a small amount of electrical conductive sealer to the threads. Remove the sending unit and immediately install the temperature sending unit tightened. So they're wanting you to pull it out and put it in quick. So you're going to lose a little bit of coolant, but they're saying if you do it quick, there's no reason to remove the coolant from the system, and just refill the cooling system to replace the little bit of lost coolant that you experienced when you quickly changed out the sensor. So according to this, directly from the manufacturer's webpage, it says you do not need to drain the cooling system. You're going to pull the sensor out, swap the sensor in quick, and you're going to lose just a little bit, but you don't have to drain the system. I hope that answers your question. I'm so far behind on comments that I'm probably need to just go ahead and skip forward because I'm not seeing anything new. I'm not seeing any of the new stuff, and I'll be here all night. I love the excursions. My back hurts that I saw a sweet white excursion tonight. Man, those things are so nice. They're so beastly. What if the check engine light comes on with a P0902? Any advice you can share? I've already changed 2 clutch actuators and still the same problem. The car has 40,000 miles and the build date is 2/14. Goes into 1.2 and then nothing but reviving, and then goes into limp mode. Sounds to me like you're gonna have to pull that thing apart, or you're gonna. Is that the one that has the whole entire control module sitting on the front of the? I'm not a trans guy, man. I mean, I can work on some of the stuff, but I'll tell you straight up, I'm not a huge trans guy. Vape weed? No, I don't do drugs. I'm allergic to THC. It's just, I've told the doctor that I tried smoking pot a few times when I was younger and it makes me nauseous. And then again, when I was like in my mid-20s, I tried. It's just, I'm allergic to it. I actually feel like I'm nauseous when I do it. From the cheap stuff to super expensive stuff, it's just not something I'm into. So I just vowed the rest of my life I'm not going to do anything harder than that. So I just don't do it. What do I think about the Buick LaCrosse? I have a 2010 and a 17. I was never really a huge fan of the LaCrosse. What I liked, and when I was younger, I always wanted was a Buick Lucerne. I was so attracted to the Buick Lucerne. For some reason, I would look while I was driving with my parents and stuff like that, and in my younger adult years, anywhere that I would drive, I was always looking to see what somebody's Buick Lucerne looked like. For some reason, that car was super attractive to me, and still, even to this day, I love the way the Buick Lucerne looks. Not as much as I did when I was younger, but I really liked the way that car looked. And the Taurus, is that a Yamaha engine? Pretty sure it was, wasn't it? Like a 3-liter Yamaha or something like that everybody always bragged about. Ever had IDS not allow PCM updating under module reprogramming? Yeah, I've had that, but then I've also had to go grab another computer because of stuff like that, and then it shows up on another computer, just not on the, what's up, Fred? Just not on the computer that I was actually working on, so I've had to do stuff like that. What do I think of Ford's 6.2-liter engine for a new F250? I love it. Buy it. It's a great engine. Thanks a ton. I always wanted your thoughts on it because I bought one and now work at Ford. Love your channel. Appreciate it, Ryan. Thank you. I'm just a normal dude, man. I'm just trying to make a difference. That's all. What's wrong with the police interceptor behind you? What's wrong? What's not wrong with it? It's cold. I was explaining earlier, you missed it. So there's a lot of things that I already did talk about. I talked about every single car in the shop. And I don't expect everybody to go back and watch this, but I did already explain that. This vehicle right behind me needs a transmission because it keeps throwing an auxiliary pump code for the hybrid connect when it's in hybrid mode. It keeps throwing a fault code and it won't clear, it won't update. Put a new auxiliary pump in it, does not matter. Put a new sensor in it that senses pressure, does not matter. So the engineers basically said, just put a transmission in it, let's be done with this, because we don't really have a good pinpoint test for that particular code. It's either replace or not replace. And so the trans has to go in it, and it needs a set of spark plugs because it's misfiring on cold start. 17 F-150 with a Duratec 3.5. The only sound I hear from under the hood is the electric fans, real quiet. I love that. I love the 3.5 Duratec in the F-150. It's a simple motor, makes plenty of power unless you're trying to work something real heavy. It's just super reliable. I'm back. Yep, it's late. It is late. You put upper control arms in my Honda, and now I have a clunk noise. So, I find a lot of people, when you start taking apart suspension parts that have already been damaged or loose or rusted or something like that, and you start banging on things to separate things and things of this nature, you end up finding something that surfaces that's eventually, very soon, going to become a problem. So the clunk sound that you're probably hearing could be a low, I don't know your system. I could only guess. I put upper control arms in my Honda and now I have a clunk. It could be a strut tower noise. It could be, when I say strut tower noise, I'm talking about the pivot mount on top of the strut tower, or that goes into the strut tower area. That's always a huge issue with tapping and stuff like that. Sway bar links. If you had to pull sway bar links off of the vehicle, the little ball socket. Actually, regardless of what people think, the sway bar link doesn't just make sound in turns or anything like that. You could literally be going down the road, but because of where it fastens and you hit bumps, those ball sockets in there will chatter back and forth. If they're worn out, they make tapping sounds. You can get up underneath the vehicle and grab it and move it up and down. It'll ding, 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 ding. Sometimes you got to use a pry bar because it's not loose enough to get that audible with your hand. But if you get a pry bar under it and pry back on it, you can hear it go tap, tap, tap. There's a number of things. I bet you something else needs to be replaced, and it wasn't just the upper control arm. So something else probably is showing its face now, and that's what you're hearing. Typically, when we go into systems to do like wheel bearings or upper control arms or something like that, we really make sure we dig into what else needs to be there, because I want to replace that while I'm there. I don't want to have to tear this thing back apart once I get everything together, and I'll find other things typically. If it's a wheel bearing, chances are I'm putting sway bar links in it. If it's a vehicle that's got some miles on it and they look rotten, I'm going to put a set of links in it. If it's a strut tower or something like that, or if it's a quick strut assembly or a strut assembly where I got to break it down, a lot of the sway bar links like to mount right into a tab that comes right off of the struts. I'm replacing them. It's good for the customer, it's good for you, it's good for not having comebacks, and fix it right the first time, score. There's a number of things that you can think about that go into this stuff, but something else is definitely wore out and causing these tapping sounds. And you probably just helped it show its face where it wasn't showing its face before. I do need to get some rest. Like, my eyes are really burning right now. If it's below the oil filter, then you probably need to drain some. I do. I work tomorrow for, half the morning, and then I'm heading back to the house so we can fly out to Texas. What's up, Scotty? What's your all-time favorite car? 1970 Pontiac Firebird. I love them. Absolutely love the look of that car. Love the way it performs. Love the way it sounds. It's just a phenomenal looking ride. It's my like dream car that I'll probably never have, but I'd love to have a 1970 Pontiac Firebird. I'll show you. It's this one. Oh, not that one. Definitely not that. It's this here. I absolutely love this car. I This would be like the ultimate dream for me. I seen one down in Arkansas. The guy wanted $19,000 for it. It was still all original, and that was like 10, 15 years ago. And then I talked to a collector of them, and he said, I go around the country and I'll buy them for like $5,000 or $6,000 in rough shape. And then I'll take them back to my home in Texas, and I'll spend an entire year of doing nothing but stripping one or two of these cars down. And I'll turn around and sell these cars for $60,000, $70,000. But it's what I get into them. It goes on a rotisserie. Every single component comes apart. Everything gets stripped completely down to sheet metal. Every nut and bolt and fastener comes apart on the vehicle, and it all gets polished, replaced, cleaned out. There's not a speck of anything left on the body. And then I'll start small. I'll do every single surface imperfection that I can find. It gets fixed meticulously, better than you would have ever found from the manufacturer. I make everything a glass type finish. And he said, I'm old, I'm retired. It's what I do. It's my passion. It's what I love to do. And I love, what do they call these? What was the old name for these? Like A-bodies or something like that? I don't know. And he said, I'll go around, I'll find Camaros and Firebirds, Trans Ams, and I just do nothing but restore these cars in my retirement. I wake up in the morning, and he says, I sit with the dog, I'll pet the dog, I'll drink my coffee, I'll have my breakfast, and I'll think about, do I want to work on the Camaro, or do I want to work on the Firebird? Do I want to go in town with the boys and have breakfast this morning, or do I just want to lay in bed a little bit longer? I do whatever the hell I want because I'm retired. And the guy said, I sell these for tons of money because I've built my reputation. Everything that goes back, every single part on the engine gets painted, the factory color, everything. I fell in love with these, man. I love the way these cars look. ...2005 Ford GT. Oh yeah, man. I absolutely love the Ford GTs, but they're pricey. 65 fastback. Oh God. My thing is the 60s into the 70s right there. It's like 65 to 70 is where like my dream in cars are at. On meth, I think I'm just addicted to helping people. 72 Skylark. Oh, here we these bodies of these cars that you guys are referencing, the 62 Fastback, the 72 Skylark, the 1970 Pontiac Firebird. This was a time that I wish I could have grew up in. This was a time that I wish I could have lived in, because it was just, I love all of the cars from that era. It's the Focus dual clutch trans. Okay. I don't know. I love the GNX. Rich, doesn't your wife get mad you're up all night on YouTube? I do appreciate your passion though. So it's my girlfriend and her daughter, which I call my daughter because she doesn't know her father. She only knows me. So that's my girl. And I have my place, and she has her place. She lives with her folks, and I have my own place. And that's how we keep the craziness throughout the week. But we're actually talking about moving in together soon and just kind of making it more official. I love her to death, and I love our little girl to death, and I do anything for her. And I love just being able to call her my daughter and treat her like she's my daughter. So it's time to make the next move and and move things along. So the social media can get a little frustrating sometimes in a relationship, especially when you spend as much time on it doing what I do. But it's worth a cause, and we've had our struggles. We've had to set boundaries and stuff like that. I don't always adhere to those boundaries because there's some things I want to talk about and teach, and it gets me in trouble. But I deal with it. And we make up, and we have those good nights where we make up, where those frustrations come in, and it's all better. It's all innocent frustration, but it gets taken care of. So yeah, she does get upset. Ford 500 Montego with the 6-speed F21. I have no idea. I have no idea, dude. I'm sorry, man. I don't have much experience with them. It doesn't compare to my 2018 Mustang GT, though. What the hell are you still doing at work? First time catching you live. I just want to say what's up, and I like what you do and how you do it. Appreciate it, man. Thank you for what you do. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting. What's your opinion on the 2.7 and the 2016 F-150? I don't really have very many problems with them. Oil pan leaks, that's it. So far they've been pretty reliable. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, we don't have a lot of customers complaining about them. What's a drive cycle? A drive cycle is where you basically take the car through a relearning process of monitors that are on board, and you run it through a learning drive cycle to bring those monitors back online and complete the status of those monitors so it knows exactly how the vehicle's functioning. A lot of manufacturers have a criteria that you can force through a drive cycle by doing a certain amount of things and meeting speeds and braking events in a certain cycle met to bring these modules back online. But typically, when you clear codes and you erase the status of those modules over a couple weeks time of customer driving on the expressway and in-town driving and stuff, eventually those modules all do meet the criteria and come back online. The biggest time that you have a problem with drive cycles is around emissions testing, where somebody's trying to pass emissions and they fix a problem and they haven't met the criteria for all monitors to be online so that it can pass an OBD check. Then you might pay a technician a little bit extra time to go out and run the vehicle through those drive cycles to make sure when it leaves the shop it passes. But if people come in way ahead of time, by the time they get their emissions testing and stuff done anyway, all those monitors have learned and come online and are all functional. So a drive cycle is just basically a cycle of driving to bring all monitors online to read complete status of what's going on with the vehicle. Sometimes it may say that you got to get on to clear an evap or complete a PCM drive cycle, you may have to get on the expressway and get up to 35 mile an hour without touching the brake or coming to a stop, and then it may need to see a coasting event, or like 55 and then a coasting event, or 60 and a coasting event, and then a certain brake application after to see all these different things that are going on. I hope that explains. It's pretty generic, but that basically is essentially what it is. ...2000 Expedition, 4.6 2-valve 4R70W, 200, excellent vehicle, especially with the 4.62 valve in a 2000 Expedition. Cannot go wrong there. One of the most reliable vehicles I've actually ever driven or seen. Hello from the Middle East. Love the vids and info. Keep it up. Maverick, non-eco, worth it. So far, I think, I don't know. I mean, we only had one come in so far, and I don't know. I didn't drive it or. Daryl the Savage says 2002 Lincoln Navigator 544 valve 4R 190,000 miles, still running strong. Absolutely. GM F body. My first car was a 1978 Camaro. Absolutely love those too. Alec Baldwin fired prop gun on set of Rust and killed cinematographer. Better be careful around firearms. 2020 F250 driver's side rear tire is leaning, top side in. It's 1 inch off. And then right side measuring from top tire to the frame. Dealer's trying to tell me it's normal. I don't think that would be normal. You may have some kind of bent axle or something in there. Maybe the axle tube itself is kind of bent a little bit. Good evening, DT254. Sorry, I'm way behind. I need to just go ahead and, let me just go ahead and scroll to the end. Oh, I was almost to the end anyway. Nowhere I can find another town car, a 90s Ford Ranger. A Ford fucking Ranger. Good video so far. Sorry. No, I mean, they're 90s Ford Ranger. No, I know right across the street. And leaving the used car dealer, there's, I think it's like a mid 2000 Ranger. It's an all white one. It looks like it's in pretty good shape. They only want $5,900 for it. It's been sitting there for a couple weeks now. I don't know what the requirements are to get in at one of the assembly plants. I have a lot of trolls here, DT. There's a lot of trolls. They just like starting problems, but that's on every automotive channel. People just try to feel justified, and they want to add to somebody else's. You know, downvote is still success to me. It's still somebody that participated in the channel, so it is what it is. I think a lot of those people don't realize if you don't do anything and you don't say anything, you actually harm the channel worse by doing that than actually clicking on something. And once you actually click on something, you actually support the channel. So people think they're doing something evil, and they're really not. They're actually supporting the channel by doing that, by saying, hey, I was here. There's a person that clicked on something that was here, and you actually helped me in my algorithm. So it is what it is. I don't think people understand that. DT254, it's his buddies from Antifa. Whose buddies? What are you talking about, Joe Blow? Buddies from Antifa. I don't get your reference there. Buddies from Antifa. I'd like to know what you're talking about, though. Ah, Fred, you didn't have to do that, man. I appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate it, though. It's definitely some good hours. Rich, am I crazy to replace the internal water pump on a Duratec 3.5 with 171,000 miles? Pat, you're not crazy. It's called preventative maintenance. It's going to be expensive. I would think that it's time, but then again, a lot of people would say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I can't give you a yes or no answer to that. By doing it, you're actually setting yourself up for at least 100,000 plus more miles with no worry. By not doing it, you're skating on thin ice right now. So I think you know the answer to that. Peter says, I'm a young GM dealer tech. I got a 12 Corvette with a high-pitched squeal from the speakers that correlate with engine RPM, pulled radio fuse, and it stopped. What to check? What to check? Okay, so I'm not a GM tech, but I've had interference come from the charging system in general affect radios, and it really resonates through the electrical system. So you could, if it's easy to access, maybe pull, this is just a general check that you can do. Maybe pull the main wire or unplug, I wouldn't say unplug. Maybe pull the main wire coming from the alternator. Pull it off, tape it up, put a hand glove or something over it. See if that whine and stuff starts to go away. I've had it to where the alternators, the internal workings of the regulator and how it's regulating and recharging the battery and keeping systems operate sometimes malfunction and can cause some of that squealing and interference through the radio system. And when you unplug the fuse, all you're doing is just you're depowering the radio, But I've also had radios themselves that are bad that do that type of stuff. So you're looking at, I would think that you could look at the charging system for causing this type of interference, or you can look at the radio itself. I don't really know. I'm not a GM tech, so this is just a guess, just a quick guess. They, it doesn't mean it's Antifa that downvoted me. It could be anybody that downvoted me. But I know what you're referencing. I would prefer not to talk about that stuff on my live streams. Just don't even bring their name up. I don't give a fuck about them. So just don't even talk about them. A mint 2004 Sonar 5-speed Ranger, 22,000 miles, sold for $23,000. I bet. What do you think of the Jeep Grand Cherokee 3.6 V6 motor? I think it's a good running motor. I don't necessarily care for them because of the faults that they have with the oil cooler system, but it's not really that hard to change. I had one come in where I had to change the oil cooler 3 or 4 times before I actually got a good one that didn't leak. And then my girlfriend's mother has a Jeep Cherokee with a 3.6 liter, 3.6 or 3.2, whatever the hell it is, but all it's half a dozen one, 6 of the other. I had to go through 3 oil coolers on hers as well. Same thing happened. The oil filter assembly and everything, it kept leaking on the 3rd one. Finally got one that didn't leak, and it's been fine for like 4 or 5 months now with no leaks. Also, what was Dorman? Somebody popped up the other day on the channel and said, hey, if you ever run into one of these leaks again, Dorman actually makes a solid aluminum oil cooler assembly now, so you can actually get the new updated unit from them where there's no more plastic, it's all metal. So that's the only bad experience I've had from the 3.6 Cherokees. But also at the same time, their 4-wheel drive system is atrocious. You're lucky if you get 30,000-40,000 miles out of them without having to hear the. So basically what you'll experience is you'll go pull out of the driveway and you'll go to make a turn, and all of a sudden the 4-wheel drive unit, the all-wheel drive unit starts binding up and it's chattering, and then you'll straighten back out and then it's fine. And then you go to turn again and it starts chattering, and the 4-wheel drive unit starts binding up and clunking, and it feels like the vehicle's jerking. The way they designed the 4-wheel drive unit in that system with the clutch type actuator gear set assembly or something in the back, I was reading up on it, and it, just to make small talk and get to the quick of the story, they were saying like the engineer that literally created it was sitting down at breakfast and he was drawing some designs on a napkin or something like that, and he came up with this type of design. It was like a thought and a process that came through his head, and he was like, I wonder if this would work. And then, okay, drawing, and okay, that seems feasible. Let's put it to thought. And then it went to thought, and then all of a sudden they start using this type of design, and it's kind of a disaster. You get a lot of these Cherokees and stuff with 30, 40, 50,000 miles that the customers are having to spend a ton of money, like even out of warranty. A lot of them will hit like around 60, 70,000 miles outside of warranty, and then the customer's having to spend $3,500 to $5,000 putting new transfer case units. The modules like to go bad. The unit themselves start to act up, and the type of clutch type electronic control malfunction. The motor itself, I don't have a problem with it. Pretty similar to some of the motors that we have, like 3.5, the same intake manifold design almost looks the same. The valve covers and stuff kind of look similar and stuff like that. The layout is the same. Seem to be a pretty sound, pretty reliable motor. But the leaks that they have and the 4-wheel drive unit, the way it acts up, not to talk bad about them, but this goes back to all these manufacturers are having this type of issue with different models and stuff that they have. You know, it's not something that I would be super confident in going and buying. Yep, I did see a picture of your town car. Yep, I know, Fred. As soon as you said that, I was like, wow, that's good. Getting paid for every single ounce of that. Thank you for taking the time to make all these videos. Started a Mopar dealership a few months back, but we get a lot of trade-ins of all other makes. So nice to stay up to date with all the makes. Appreciate that Midwest Workshop super chat. It's awful nice of you. I appreciate you. Wendy's or McDonald's? Wendy's. I don't like McDonald's. I hate McDonald's with a passion. Oh, keep up the good work. Don't let the internet trolls get to you. Mommy's basement. I agree. One of the diode trio goes bad and has a feedback of AC current that's usually a static whine you'd hear over the radio speakers. Yep, that's it. It's a Mia. That's a better explanation. It was some of the charging system. It's not something we typically deal with the Fords, but that's probably a hell of a lot better than I would have explained it, just because I don't really deal with it all that much. But a lot of charging system issues. So thank you, Scott. Appreciate that. Don't forget the rocker issues. It's been better on the new ones. Yeah, I don't know too much about the rocker issues. I know hers has got 70,000, 74,000 miles on it, and she doesn't have any of the rocker issues, but that was like on a 14 or 15. But it stays serviced meticulously. I mean, I take care of any of their vehicles just like they're my own. Working late? No, I've been done working for 2 hours and 26 minutes now, basically. So, good evening from Cali. Keep up the good work. I appreciate you as always. Thank you. Damn COVID, man. Got my ass twisted. Can't sleep because of it. No, I'm just kidding. Don't go telling on me and tattling on me and stuff. I'm just kidding. Somebody say COVID check? Thank you. Appreciate it. Well, Anthony on here, Black Mustang, when he was talking about his Mustang. This is him here. You guys don't know? And he sent me, like I said earlier, he sent me a bunch of stuff from AMSOIL, engine and transmission flush. He sent me a big can of power foam cleaner. AMSOIL upper cylinder gasoline additive lubricant. And deep cleaning additive gasoline performance improver. So I will be reviewing these here soon, because some of you guys have asked me to to do that, so I'm going to get on that. I do have a little bit of an announcement. A new vendor reached out to me, somebody that I have not dealt with before, but I have seen their name before. Topman Electronics. They reached out to me, and they said that they do have their deals directly to buy from them, but also they have the better deals on Amazon. And they got a hold of me and they said, we're going to be sending you a battery tester. We want you, it's more of a nicer handheld device, a little bit beefier to fit in your hand, but it's still small and pocket size. So they actually messaged me this morning and said they're interested in sending me one of the devices to do a review on. And I just, why not, right? It's a free tool. I don't make money off of it, but I get the free tool, so I'm definitely all for it. Let me see. Oh my God, so many emails. Email. My inbox right now is just full of nothing but emails. Bossela. The headlight bulbs. I think they can go like 4K, or they can go like It's either like 4K, 6K, 8 or 9K, and then they can strobe. They actually sent me an email as well and said, hey, look, we're going to send you a set of our headlights, our LED headlights, but it's the only one in the industry that you can, on the fly, change what illumination you want. Do you want a lower illumination? Do you want something like 6K or 65K? Or do you want something like 8 or 9K? And it's a LED headlight that they have developed, and they asked me what size headlight do I said, well, it's a 9005. And they said, look, they're not cheap headlights, but they're not super expensive either. I think they're like 150 bucks for these headlights for a set. And they were like, we're going to send them to you. We want you to show people what we have developed, and let's see what you say. We want to see what you have to say about these headlights. So that should be pretty interesting. I've never seen a headlight that you can actually switch the type of the output on the fly. Trying to find that email. Maybe if I type it in top, man. Top Mon? Maybe it's Top Mon. This is what I'll do. I'll go to Sent. I can't find it. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning.
You still here?
Yes, ma'am. Anyway, I can't find it right now. I'll have to show you guys what it looks like, but it's a Amazon handheld Topman battery tester. No, you can go. Damn it. Oh, here it is, right here. They said they'll offer the channel a discount and stuff like that. They're going to do all that good stuff. But that's what it looks like. Top done, whatever. Gel, EFB, regular flooded, AGM spiral, state of health, charging test, ripple analysis, data storage, resistance test, state of charge, voltage test, cranking test, load test. And it's got a little bit of a bigger screen to it, so it's a little bit more visible. You can't see camera to camera, but anyway. Car, boat, motorcycle, truck, ATV. So they're going to send it. I said, yeah, sure, I'll do it. I'll do anything for the free tool. I mean, you want me to do a review on it, as long as I can be honest about the product. And if I don't like something, I can say I don't like something. I'm more than willing to do the review, but I don't want to be silenced if I have something to say. Oh yes. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she'll probably come with me. The girlfriend will come to the meetup. So anyway, let's get off here. It's time to go home. 2 hours and 35 minutes in, almost 3 hours, and it is 11:09 at night. So yeah, that'll be midnight with me going to bed. Midnight 30. Turn around, get up 6 o'clock in the morning, go back to work. Right? Maybe I'll sleep in. Maybe I'll push it. I wanted to come early to make up for not being here next week, but you know what? At that point. I mean, next week I'll be here, but having to leave for surgery next week. Anyway, let's call it. I'm getting out of here. Good night, guys. I appreciate y'all, and I really, it's amazing you guys sticking around with me this long. This was awesome tonight, having all of you on here for as long as you were on here. I didn't expect this. I didn't know I was going to get the boost in people showing up that were watching everything tonight. It amazes me. You know, there are guys with channels that are 2 or 3 times bigger than mine that can't get 100 people to show up, and here it is 2.5 hours later, and I still have 100 people on here watching me blab about vehicles. So it's excellent. It's amazing, and I've never felt more supported than I do right now. I thank you guys for everything, for the support, for the backing, just through all this, all the craziness that's going on. And those of you that are letting me run the platform how I choose to run the platform and vent about things that I want to vent about, but 90% of it keeping it about what we talk about every single day. And that's the most important thing to me. You know, I appreciate that. I'm going to go to bed, go change, wash up, get out of here. Y'all have a great night. And I'll say hi to y'all tomorrow, but I probably won't be on here. For all the super chats tonight, guys, I really appreciate it. DT, thank you. Everybody else that donated the super chat, Fred, Scott, Midwest Workshop, thank you guys all. I really, really appreciate that. It's not necessary, but it's always, you know, it always helps. It goes towards stuff on the channel and buying stuff for giveaways and things like that. And you guys are just amazing, like always. And I couldn't do this without any of you guys. And I owe all this to you guys and your support. And not only that, you know, the Panther community is really who I have to give a lot of this to. The Panther guys, the Town Car guys, the Grand Marquis guys, the P71 guys that originally started watching my stuff for my P71 Panther type content. They're really the ones that helped me grow and get a lot of this started. And then you guys came in and filled in where they were already at, where a lot of them were at. So I love y'all. I really do. I care about every one of you that support me, and it's been a blessing. And let's continue doing it. Thank you guys. Any questions you have, remember email. Email is going to be the most important. Now I just went through my email and I see I've got like 30 emails sitting there waiting for me to answer, and sometimes I can't even get to everything to answer them. But I'm doing my best. Just know that. Sleep well, guys. I'll catch you tomorrow. Be blessed.